Alright, good afternoon ladies and gentlemen. This is my next project for a customer. He wants this weed whacker to run again. He says that it bogs down on him and it doesn't run properly, so that sounds to me like carburetor issues. What tells me that if he was able to start it, then that means there is no problem with the rewind or anything. There is probably the correct gas mixture in here. If not, we'll look it up and we'll put the correct gas mixture into there. And if he said that it bogs down, that means that there's nothing wrong with the spark plug, there's nothing wrong with the exhaust. And we're going to check the on-off switch here to see if that works. I'm assuming that this does when I hit the trigger. The proper components are working like they're supposed to. Let's see. Yeah, it's working. It's hooked up. That looks a bit loose for some reason. I don't know why. I don't think it's supposed to wiggle like that. So, okay. We're just gonna take this apart and take the carburetor and put it right here. Here we go. Alright, so this is the carburetor, and when I took it out, I just want to show everybody the lines that feed it. So these two lines here, this one here goes line in, this one is line out. As you can see, they're two different, they look very different, so you gotta make sure you know which one goes which. This one here goes onto the top, which means it feeds out into the gas tank. This one here, with all the ribs on it, are the one with attached to the fuel filter. This one comes in, line in, gas comes into the carburetor, gas goes out of the carburetor on this one. This is the carburetor, and there is only one valve on this carburetor, even though it goes straight through. This valve here opens up. Oh, you know what? Let me put the camera down, I'll show you. Okay, so, this valve here, this one here, this is what you used to on your throttle. That is right there. See that? So this here attaches to the motor side, the cylinder side, the piston side, whatever goes against the housing. This side here goes against the air filter. Now normally on some carburetors there is an actual second butterfly valve, which is the choke. That's not on here. This is a Zama carburetor made in China, and it is made for Stihl. So I'm going to take this apart and look inside it to get it all cleaned up and whatnot, but we're going to look at the choke mechanism. This here is the cover, the fuel, or not the air filter cover, and the choke is actually right onto the air filter, and it's right here. This is choke on, this is choke off. See, this is how Stihl makes their chokes and whatnot. So this restricts the air in, this choke sits, this lets all the air in through the air filter. Of course, there's an air filter over top of that. That air filter is this thing right here. It is like a heavy type thick sponge that Stihl makes, and it just goes on top of that. It's the other way, just like that, and you just choke it. So we're on the housing here. Where's the right here? See, this is the that's the jet screws. Where's, oh, here it is, right here. Okay, so this is, it tells you right here, choke on, choke off. And you just hit this, and the choke is built right into the air filter housing instead of the carburetor. So now we're going to take this apart, starting right now. Okay, so this is the carburetor, looking from right to left. The screws that come out that attach to the top housing of the primer bulb. This here sits up against the primer bulb. This is the out. This comes out, and when I look at it, there's nothing too wrong with it. I'm going to get some stuff to flush that out. This here, the diaphragm can be replaced. Looks like it's a little non-flat. And this here is the carburetor that sits on. When I look into here, doesn't look too bad. The screen on this side looks extremely clean. There's no gunk in there even before I flushed it. This here part's the metal gasket part, that, or the the diaphragm part, that can come out. It does look like it is a bit used and bent and whatnot. That does affect the functionality of the primer bulb and the pump, so I can replace that. Because this is a Zama carburetor, I will replace this here and this here, and I will touch nothing else with this. If he said that it bogs down and we still go and mess around with it, I'm going to have something to do with these two jets here. So that could be the issue. Other than that, this carburetor looks fine. And when we look into this part here, this is where it comes out of. What the heck? Where's the rewind cord? When I had went and pushed up and down on it, I don't know if you can see it, but the cylinder of the carburetor, or the weed whacker, looks fine. It's smooth. There's probably nothing wrong with the piston whatsoever. I'm just going to go ahead and work on this right now. Okay, so what I have here is a slight demonstration on how your carburetor is supposed to act with the primer bulb. You see that primer bulb right there is like full. Before it wasn't. When you are pressing your primer bulb, it's supposed to drink properly. There's an intake and an intake and an outtake. So when you press your primer bulb, gas comes in through the bottom, goes through the carburetor, goes into the primer bulb, and exits when you press the primer bulb. Do you see that? It's coming in. Okay, so I have a demonstration on how the primer bulb and the carburetor are supposed to act with the gas tank. So this here is our gas tank, this ice cream cooler. This short tube is the outtake from the primer bulb. The longer one going into the gas is the intake attached to the fuel filter. Now when you press the primer bulb, it's supposed to look like this. Gas gets sucked up when the primer bulb engages, and when you press the primer bulb, gas comes out. So when you're pressing it, like, it comes just like that, and gas goes up. It's supposed to be a continuous solid flow of gas. There should be no air coming into the gas, the carburetor at all. It's supposed to be nice and continuous, and when that happens, you get a full primer bulb like that right there. If you are pressing the primer bulb and nothing is happening, it could be because the gas is not getting into the fuel line like it is supposed to, or if you have a full gas tank and it is still not going in, then you have little tiny holes inside this carburetor that need to be blown out. Just the smallest amount of dirt will clog a hole, will cause this thing not to suck up any gas. So that needs to be taken into consideration, and after getting this one working properly, I can see that it's going to be working, well, no, because that's exactly what I had to do. I had to take this top off part, the bottom part off here, and then go inside and blow the holes out. With the Canon WD-40, I went into the tiny holes and got them all loosened up. So now I'm going to put this back into the weed whacker, and I'm going to see if it works. And I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so this is project number 2 for the same customer. This here is an Echo trimmer. We're just going to have a pan over everything here, just to get an idea of what everything looks like. Now the guy said that when you press the primer bulb, there's nothing happening. See, there's gas in the tank, as you can see, but there's nothing happening with the primer bulb. So what that tells me, probably with the weed whacker too is that there are little holes in there that need to be flushed out. They need to be blown out, which is not a big deal. So we're going to work on that, and we're just going to give this a pull. If he said that it works, and we got, yeah, see, there is compression. I am able to turn it over, so there's nothing wrong with the piston or the cylinder. So yeah, we're just gonna take the carburetor out right now and put it right there. Here we go. Okay, so once again, we have a carburetor which is much like the Stihl carburetor. It is using a Zama carburetor. So this one here is an Echo, and it's using a Zama. So now I know a few things about Zama and Walbro, and all the carburetors that are used on Stihl. Husqvarna seems to be the only one that's different. So this one has the same principle about the choke valve. There's only one valve, and that's the throttle. The choke valve is actually built right onto the air filter housing, and it goes on like that. This part here is just for the bolt that holds the air filter together, which bolts right onto here. Now holds the air filter onto it. This here is the choke, and they use extremely long screws. I don't want to take this one out because I don't want to get them mixed up, but these are, where's that actual screws? These ones here, they're very long, like 4 inches long, that hold the carburetor together. So this is the filter. You can't really replace these filters. You have with like a sponge, like a had been. This is very unique, so you really have to get this exact part for the air filter, which is going to cost money, and then the sponge. But I'm going to take this carburetor apart and blow it out and flush it out and see the internal parts of it. Here we go. So this is the assembly for that Echo Zama carburetor, and I just found a problem here, which is probably what's causing it. Okay, you see this screen here? Right here is the screen, and it is clogged full. Like, I can actually pick that out with this here, and it's not supposed to look like it's like a sludge or whatever the hell that is. So that is a problem. But as before with the other carburetor I was experimenting with, these holes have to be blown out. They have to be blown out hard and fished out with an actual stick or whatever the hell not. That hole there, this hole, all the other holes, they have to be flushed out with some high pressure carburetor cleaner or air. And I'm going to do that. This carburetor was not drinking anything, and that's why. There's no pressure, pressure to get inside the carburetor. So we're going to work on that right now. Okay, so once again for this Echo, we have the same problem as last time with the Stihl, where it was not drinking. This now works. You can see the gas in there, how it's supposed to flow. So I'm going to press the primer bulb, you're going to see the gas come out. And once again, there should be a continuous flow in the lines when you are pressing the primer bulb. I had went and replaced the guts inside the carburetor to get it working. I'm just having a hard time handling it here. But yeah. What happened was this part here of the top part of the primer bulb was clogged. It was not sucking up any air, and therefore that is why it was not working properly. But it should, look, it should come up nicely.